Okay, sorry about the fact that this is in two videos, but class called. I had just left off describing the end of the Battle of Fallen Timbers. And again, when we look at Native American names and what things mean, everything tells a story. And we know from just how they titled that battle, Battle of Fallen Timbers, that it is definitely not a victory for them. And that it has a big metaphor there, foreshadowing of not just the fall of a battle, but the fall of gradually a people. And we know the Miami tribe are going to get pushed out. And these treaties at first that meant so very much between the U.S. government and between Native American nations and tribes are gradually meaning less and less, getting chopped up, getting edited, getting changed. And this is going to just spell out a lot of sadness and destruction for Native American tribes down the road. So when we talk about President Adams coming in, he is going to really copy a lot of what's going on. President Adams is going to come in and be doing things so similar to George Washington, because again, we know Washington set such really, really important precedents, right? So we often see this era referred to as the Federalist era because you have Washington in so much power. Then you have John Adams come in, adopt his policies. You have Alexander Hamilton doing so much in the background as Secretary of Treasury. So the Federalists are strong in this era, and we know that's about to change because you're going to have Thomas Jefferson come in, and he so is not a Federalist, but definitely an era of lots of strong national power here. So when George Washington is about to leave, he gives his very famous farewell address. And he says two things. He says, we must stay neutral and beware of political parties. And yikes, I don't know if America is taking that advice presently very well, right? And John Adams is going to try to keep that in mind, and he too is going to make sure that we go the route of diplomacy and do not become involved in any kind of issues with France and Britain, with any kind of military. And the political party stuff, yikes, it's going to get bad. We do not heed Washington's advice there, and we know there's going to be an epic showdown election coming down the road called the election of 1800, which is like an all-out battle, just bruiser of a fight between Jefferson and Burr and Adams, and Hamilton is kind of involved too, and it's just a mess. So we are going to have in this election where John Adams runs against Thomas Jefferson after George Washington, and George Washington says, I'm done, I'm not serving anymore. Sectionalism comes into play, and sectionalism is this idea that you are more loyal to your region, meaning north, south, west, or New York State, or Amherst, or Cheektowaga, or whatever, than you are to your country, which of course is the issues of nationalism. And sectionalism versus nationalism, we all want to see our region do well. We all want to see people from our region represent our region, and that's twofold, right? You want them to represent your region because there's a certain amount of pride in that, and you also want people to rep your region because if they're in politics, they're going to help you out. If there's, jobs to be had, or there's a big law that could help you, they are going to bat for you as a region because they know that that's how they get elected. That's the butter to their bread, right? So this sectionalism is strong. And here in Buffalo, we have major sectionalism, right? Like the Bills are terrible and we love them. And I'll be traveling and I'll see somebody in a Bills hat and it's like, oh my God, you're from Buffalo. It's so exciting. And you're like instant friends because we look at where we are from, those regional cultural ties as things that we have in common. And we extend that. Sometimes we will vote for people based on that if they remind us of those ties and of that culture. So you have more people in the North. And John Adams is from the North. And he is going to be really elected due to these northern sectionalist factions, right? And Thomas Jefferson, as brilliant and as bright as he is and everything else, he is going to be somebody who is from the South, and there's not as many people in the South because the majority of the South is going to be slaves. So you have John Adams elected, Thomas Jefferson isn't, and Jefferson loses it and is going to come back 4 years later in the election of 1800 with all this vengeance. But John Adams wins the election of 1796. In a crazy world that is the not too edited presidential process of 1796, the runner-up becomes your VP. So you have John Adams who can't stand Jefferson, and Jefferson gets the second most votes, and Jefferson becomes Adams VP, which is just insane, right? Insane. So John Adams is going to deal with a couple things. First, he deals with something called the XYZ affair. Then he deals with something caused by that, which is the Alien and Sedition Acts, and then caused by that is the Virginia and Kentucky resolutions. So I want you to think of these as a chain, right? In terms of cause and effect. The XYZ affair is going to cause the Alien and Sedition Acts, which causes the Virginia and Kentucky resolutions. So we are getting picked on abroad. We are getting picked on at sea. We know we don't have a really strong army, navy. All these things are difficulties. France doesn't like us. We didn't help with the French Revolution. Britain doesn't like us. We overthrew them. And when our ships are at sea, they are going after us. So we try to go through diplomacy. So we send Charles Pinckney to France. All the way to France, weeks on a boat, right? First slap, they don't even meet us. And he comes back, he's like, yeah, they won't see me. Yikes, right? Imagine telling that to John Adams. The next time we go, we send 3 diplomats because we're like, they can't possibly turn away 3 diplomats. And we expect to like meet with some heads of state, like some important people, have this go on. And they instead have us meet with these 3 nameless, non-important diplomats. And no one snubs you like the French, right? The French are so good at snubbing. They're just awesome at it. And I just love picturing them maybe smoking, kind of going, who are you? Why are you here? And we're just like, oh, what? We have a meeting? This is a big deal? Like, please? They end up saying, yeah, we'll stop picking on you at sea if you give us money. That's bribery. That's not diplomacy. That's just not acceptable. They come home. Adams is furious to hear this news from our diplomats we sent over, and he writes articles in the newspaper telling the story. He names these French agents XYZ, says how much he despises them, and basically what he does then, because he can't fight France, because we said we're never going to go to war, diplomacy, etc., he cuts off trade with France. And when he does this, he is going to punish our economy, punish French sympathizers in our country with something he passes called the Alien and Sedition Acts. Classic displacement in psychology is when you're upset about something and you can't take it out on who you're really upset with, so you take it out on somebody else. And we have, I don't know, you have a bad day at school and you can't get it out at school, and then someone at home asks you, how was your day? And you're like, it was fine, right? Clearly they're not who upset you, but you have those emotions, they're going to go somewhere. John Adams is upset with France, big time. He can't really, however, fight back at France, so he punishes people at home with the Alien and Sedition Acts in 1798. Sedition is to speak out against the government, and he makes it illegal to speak out against the government in a pro-French way. And of course, aliens are people who are not citizens in our country. And he says, hey, if you are speaking out against the government, you're not a citizen. And lots of French guys who really helped us out a lot in the Revolution, like fell in love with people, stayed, had families, and are living in our country. And now they're at risk, right? He says you're going to get thrown in jail. And lots of people say this is not constitutional. One of those people, all about your personal rights and freedoms, and just waiting for any kind of chance to sock it to John Adams, is Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson, with James Madison, with others, is going to try and argue that the Alien and Sedition Acts are unconstitutional, and he is going to say this is a violation of our freedom of speech. Why can't you speak out against the government? And this is not okay. And we know that Jefferson loves France, so this is going to be like a personal fight for him. And they say that they can nullify or cancel out, to nullify a law, to make it like null and void. They say they can cancel the law at a state level. Very interesting idea, and something that we're going to see again and again. This idea that people, particularly the South, thinks that they can get rid of a federal law at a state level. We're going to talk about the civil rights later. We're going to discuss this a ton. As seductive as this sounds, you can't. It's a national law, and you have to go through the national venues to get rid of that law. As a state, the way power works, you can't just say no. Like, paper covers rock, federal covers state. That's how it works. And it doesn't work. People don't nullify the law. Shocker, it only gets passed in Madison and Jefferson's home state of Virginia, and also in the state of Kentucky. So that's why we call their aims to do this the Virginia and Kentucky resolutions. And we are going to see the election of 1800 now come right after all of this drama. And all I'm going to say is it's going to be pretty exciting. So I will see you guys for that. Thank you so much. Bye.